Hi there, Mr. Muhammed is here. Finding unknown angle using trigonometric rules like sine, cosine, and tan is the objective of this lesson. As in the previous lesson, we learned how to find out the missing side using trigonometric functions in right-angled triangles. So today, in this lesson, we are going to learn how to find missing angles using trigonometrics while the triangles are having a right angle. Question 1 here, we know the length of two sides and angle A is missing. Based on angle A, what is the relation of the side? The 3 is the opposite and the 5 is the longest side. That's what makes the 5 hypotenuse. Now we have opposite and hypotenuse. Which trigonometric function can cover opposite and hypotenuse? Definitely sine. Then sine of angle A is the opposite, which is 3 over the hypotenuse over 5. Sine of A is 3 over 5. 3 divided by 5 using a calculator, you see sine of A is equal to 0.6. Now it's time to use sine inverse. Then sine of angle A is equal to 0.6. While we are pressing shift and the sine button in your calculator, you see sine with this tiny negative one here. It is called sine inverse, means the opposite of sine. Sine of angle A is equal to 0.6. So you can ask sine inverse, the sine of which angle is equal to 0.6. Sine inverse straight away gives you the angle, 36.86. And since there are too many numbers after point, let's just round it to one decimal place. That will be 36.9. So angle A is 36.9 degrees. Question 2. Two sides are given. According to this angle, the 7 is opposite and this 10 is the longest side. In other words, this 10 is the opposite of the right angle, so the 10 is hypotenuse. Then again, we're going to use sine because we have opposite and hypotenuse. Sine of E is equal to 7 over 10. 7 over 10 is equal to 0.7. Now let's use sine inverse. Sine inverse, shift and sine means sine inverse. Sine inverse of which angle is 0.7, or you can straight away substitute the fraction 7 over 10. Close the bracket. Not this bracket, the outer one. Then you see it's 44.42. 2 is a small number, so it's just 44.4. E is 44.4 degrees. Question 3. Two sides are given. 6 is the longest. This is hypotenuse. 4. This is the opposite. The opposite is not given, so it means we cannot use sine. Sine can't be used because we don't know the opposite. But what we have is the adjacent side. Whenever you see adjacent with hypotenuse, it's the right time to use cosine. Cosine of t is equal to adjacent, which is 4, over the hypotenuse, 6. Then 4 divided by 6. 4 divided by 6 is equal to 0.6. For sine, we used sine inverse. Similarly, for cosine, we're going to use cosine inverse. Cosine inverse of 0.6 is equal to 53.1. 53.1. How can we check the answer? Simply just take the cosine of the answer, 53.13, See, that gives the 0.6 back. This is right. Why we have some different numbers here? Because we didn't copy all the decimal places of the original answer. Well, it's right. T is 53.1 or 0.13 degrees. Question 4. Again, we have the opposite is missing, so sine can't be used. We have the adjacent and the hypotenuse. Again, cosine can take place. Here, the opposite is given. The hypotenuse, which is the longest, is not here, so it means sine and cosine can't be used. Why? Because the hypotenuse is not given. What is given is the opposite and the adjacent. So it means this time we need to use tan. Tan of m is equal to opposite over adjacent, 3 over 4. Now, as tan, it is a trigonometric function, so it has inverse, just like sine and cosine. Then how can we use tan inverse in calculator? In these Casio calculators, you can press shift and tan, so you got tan inverse. Tan inverse of 3 over 4 is 0.75, or you can just write the fraction using fraction command. You can just write the fraction in the tan inverse or the decimal. Finally, you will get the same answer. Then m is 36.86, so m is 36.86 will be just 0.9 degrees because it's angle. Question 6, again, tan will be used. Why? Because hypotenuse is not given. Here we have to use sine. No, because the opposite is not given. Can we use tan? No, because we have hypotenuse. So of course, cosine, because we have adjacent. Adjacent and hypotenuse. We have cosine that can cover both. Cosine of t is equal to 7 over 8. And cosine inverse of 7 over 8, cosine inverse of 7 over 8 is 28.9. So we can simply say 29, because when you round it, it will be 29. T is 29 degrees. Here, sine must be used because the opposite and the hypotenuse are given. Here, cosine must be used because this is adjacent, the opposite is not given, and this is hypotenuse, this is adjacent. From this two, cosine should be used. Question 15. This side is the opposite of the W, so this is O, it's given, and this 17 is hypotenuse. Simply we can use sine. Sine of W is equal to 4 over 17. Now using sine inverse, we can work out the size of W. Sine inverse of 4 over 17. Close the bracket. 13.60. So W is 13.6 degrees. These questions, you have to make the diagram. A freehand sketch is enough to be able to do the question. The question says the middle letter has the right angle. So this is triangle ABC, and let's say this is the right angle, so it must be B and A in the beginning, C here. BC is 4, from here to there is 4 centimeters. AC is 7, find angle A. Angle A is missing. So based on the location of angle A. What do we have? We have the opposite and we have the hypotenuse. What should we use? Sine. Sine of A is equal to 4/7. Then sine inverse of 4/7. Sine inverse of 4/7 is 34.84. So angle A, this symbol means angle as it's here. Angle A is 34.8 degrees. Similarly, you can do all the rest. Now, what if we have some combined right angle triangles like this? Now, we need to find x. It's not so mysterious. Just look what we have. We have to find angle x. Okay, to find angle x, we have the hypotenuse. We need to know either the opposite of angle x or the adjacent. And for here, we know this angle is 40 degrees. And the adjacent side of the angle is 4. So let's use cosine to find the hypotenuse in this triangle. Again, this angle is given. So, and what else is given in this triangle? The adjacent of this angle. Using cosine, we can find the hypotenuse in this triangle. Once we got the hypotenuse, we can use sine to get the opposite. The side is the opposite. Let's do it. Can we use tan? Definitely yes. And through tan, we can straight away find the opposite. Okay? Because this side, the hypotenuse, has nothing to do with x. But this side, this opposite of 40 is also the opposite of x. That would help us to find x. Tan of 40 degrees is equal to, tan is opposite over adjacent. So O, which is missing, over 4. Okay, I'm gonna write OP means opposite, it's not 0. Tan of 40 is equal to the opposite over 4. Now, using calculator, what does tan of 40 equal to? Tan of 40 is equal to 0.8390, 0.839, that's enough, is equal to OP over 4. OP stands for opposite. Now, how can we get rid of this 4? Multiply both sides by 4. It means this answer totally should be multiplied by 4. That gives the length 3.35. The opposite is O is 3.36 centimeters long, 3.36. Whenever you see a lot of decimal places, just round it to 1 decimal place or to 2 decimal places, both fine. Now this is 3.36, we got O. Now for angle X, we have the opposite and we have the hypotenuse. Using sine, we can find X. Sine of X is equal to the opposite, which is 3.36, divided by hypotenuse, which is 10. Then sine of X, it's clear that it will be equal to 0.336. Sine of X, whenever you divide a number by 10, one more number goes after the decimal point, 336. Now, sine inverse of which angle is equal to 0.336? This is 19.63. So angle X is 19.6 degrees. We got X. Question 22. Angle X is missing. We have this angle 37. What's given is the adjacent of this angle. Again, using tan of 37, we will be able to find the opposite of 37, which is also the opposite of X. Is there another way? Yes, you can find the hypotenuse using cosine, because we have adjacent. Then using the hypotenuse and the angle, we can find opposite, but it's better to do it in one step, which is by using tan. Tan of 37 is equal to the opposite over the adjacent, which is 3. Now tan of 37 is equal to 0.753. Tan of 37 is equal to 0.753. It's equal to opposite over 3. Now how can we get rid of this 3? Multiply both sides by 3. It means multiply this by 3. It will be the length of the opposite side. Multiply this result by 3 is equal to 2.26. So opposite is 2.26 centimeters long. Now, how does this help to find angle X? The side is 2.26. Now, for angle X, we have the opposite. This is the opposite, and this is the adjacent side. The hypotenuse is not given, so it means we have to use tan. Tan of X is equal to the opposite 2.26 over 7. Tan of X is equal to this. Using tan inverse answers this question. You're gonna gently ask the calculator, tan of X is equal to 2.26 over 7. So you're gonna say the tan of which angle is equal to 2.26 over 7, and the calculator says 17.89, sir. 17.89 rounded to one decimal place, that gives 17.9. X is 17.9 degrees. Question 26 is a brilliant question. In this question, we need to find angle X. In order to find angle X, we know the opposite of angle X, but we have to find the hypotenuse or the adjacent. We cannot find the adjacent in this question, but we can find the hypotenuse. Why the side is the hypotenuse? Because it's the opposite the right angle. This right angle in this triangle is opposite this side. That's what makes the side the hypotenuse. Now, in these two triangles, in each triangle we can find one piece of the hypotenuse. In this triangle, we can find this piece of the hypotenuse, and in the other triangle, we can find this piece of the hypotenuse. Then add them together, you will get the hypotenuse. Now, in this triangle, we know the angle, we know the adjacent of the angle. We need to find the opposite of this 28. To find the opposite of 28, in which trigonometric we use adjacent and opposite? Of course, tan. Now, tan of 28 is equal to the opposite over the adjacent, which is 12. Now, tan of 28 is equal to 0.531. 0.531. is equal to opposite over 12. How can I get rid of this 12? If I multiply both sides by 12, this one will be cancelled and this one will be multiplied by 12. This result, 5.317 times 12 is 6.38. So opposite here is equal to 6.38 centimeters. 6.38, yeah. We got the first part of the hypotenuse that we wanted to find. So let's call this the first part. And to find the second part of the hypotenuse, we have to use this triangle. And let's check this triangle. What do we have? We have one angle, and the given side is the opposite of the angle. What we want to find is the adjacent of the angle. What's given is the opposite according to this triangle, and what we want to find is the adjacent. Again, we have to use tan because tan is the only trigonometric that doesn't need hypotenuse, and it's covering opposite and adjacent. Tan of 58.2 is equal to opposite is 12 over adjacent. Now, tan of 58.2 using a calculator, tan of 58.2 is equal to 1.612. Okay, 1.612 is equal to 12 over A. A is in the denominator. Then we need to flip both sides. We will have 1 over 1.612 is equal to A over 12. How can I get rid of this 12? If I multiply both sides by 12, then it will look like this. 12 over 1.612 is equal to A, which is the second part of this hypotenuse. Now using calculator, 12 divided by 1.612, 12 divided by this result, which is the tan of 58.2, 12 divided by this answer, 12 divided by the latest answer is 7.44. 7.44 is the other part of the hypotenuse. 7.44 is A, which is just the second part of the hypotenuse. It was the first part. This is the second part. Now, add these two pieces of the hypotenuse together to get the whole hypotenuse. 7.44 plus 6.38, 7.44 plus 6.38 is equal to 13.82. So the hypotenuse of this triangle has the hypotenuse equal to 13.82. 13.82. Now, how does this help to find angle X, which is the only thing we have to find here? But we did all of these things here. Now, for angle X, we have this side, which is the hypotenuse according to this triangle. We cannot say this side is adjacent because it's opposite the right angle. It is the hypotenuse and it's 13.82 centimeters. And the other side is 10. This 10 for the X is the opposite, and we have opposite and hypotenuse. We can use sine. Sine of X is equal to the opposite, which is 10, over the hypotenuse, which is 13.82. Now we need sine inverse. Sine inverse of which angle is equal to this amount? The calculator will answer. Sine inverse, shift and sine with this -1 means sine inverse. Sine inverse of which angle is equal to 10 over 13.82. 46.35. Angle X is 46.35. Finally, X is 46.35 degrees. We got it. Comment your questions below. I like this question. Bearings are always clockwise, and we always use 3 digits to represent them. For example, this 52 degrees angle, as bearing, it should be written as 52. This is bearing, that's why. And bearing is always clockwise. If we have two angles like this, the bearing between them is not here. Clockwise, clock is always moving from 12 to 1. Clock is always moving like this. Then the bearing between these two lines is right here. This reflex angle is the bearing. This worked example is pretty cool. Sometimes to find missing sides, we can simply just follow Pythagoras theorem. As you know, in these sets of exercise, we have only right angle triangles. That allows us to use Pythagoras as well. Question 1. A ladder of length 6 meters leans against a vertical wall so that the base of the ladder is 2 meters from the wall. Calculate the angle between the ladder and the wall. What? It's a story? No. Simplify the question. Firstly, draw a diagram. We have a ladder, a wall, and the base. Well, let's say this is the wall. The height of the wall is not given, but we know the ladder is 2 meters away from the wall. We know this is 2 meters. And this is the ladder. This drawing is not perfect, but it means something according to this word problem. The length of the ladder is 6 meters. Since this is a vertical wall is a great evidence to say I have a right angle here. This is the wall, and this is the ladder. This is the graph. The ladder is 2 meters away from the wall. All right. Now, where is the angle between the ladder and the wall? The angle between the ladder and the wall is right here. We need to find this angle. Let's call it x. What do we have for x? The side is opposite the right angle. This is the hypotenuse. And this 2 meters is opposite the x. It's the opposite. Oh, we have opposite and hypotenuse. We can use sine. Sine of x, which is the angle between the ladder and the wall, is equal to opposite over hypotenuse, 2/6. If we simplify, it will be 1/3. But while you are using calculator, you don't need these simplifications. Now sine of x is equal to 2/6. This is the best time to use sine inverse. Sine inverse of which angle is equal to 2/6 or 1/3? Or convert this fraction into decimal, then substitute it in the sine inverse. Sine inverse of which angle is 2/6? Let's see. It's 19.47. Simply we can say 19.5. X is 19.5 degrees. Similarly, you can do the other questions, but remember your diagram should have some meaning according to the question. In the other questions, you might use cosine, sine, or sometimes we are going to use Pythagoras to find missing sides while we don't know angles. We just know sides. Question 5. In question 5, we are going to find RT, which is from here all the way to T. This base is missing of this triangle on the right side. And what's given, PR, means from R all the way to P is 10 meters. And it's given that QT is 7. Now what I know is this angle, which is 40 degrees. How can I use this angle and this side to find this piece of PR? If I know PT, which is the opposite of the 40, I would be able to find TR, because if I subtracted PT from 10, what's remaining is TR. Now, PT is opposite according to this angle, and this is adjacent. This is the hypotenuse is not given. This is adjacent, and the side is opposite. Now again, I have to use tan because we have adjacent and opposite. Tan of 40 is equal to opposite. Let's just call PT. PT is the opposite of 40 over 7, which is the adjacent. Now tan of 40 is 0.839. 0.839 is equal to PT over 7. Now I have to get rid of this 7, so multiply both sides by 7 to get rid of this one. Then 0.839, this result, 0.839 times 7 is 5.87. So PT is 87. They are all in meters. PT is also in meters. Now, I know PT is 5.87. If I subtract this from the 10, what's remaining is the RT. Now to find RT or TR is equal to 10 minus 5.87. 10 minus 5.87, 10 minus 5.87 is 4.13. So TR is 4.13 meters. Done.